Piriformis pain is literally a pain in your butt, but the exercises in this video can help you to fix it permanently. My name is Dr. Jared, and your piriformis is a small muscle in your hip that sits underneath your gluteus maximus. By itself, it can be a source of local pain, but it can also compress down on the sciatic nerve that runs underneath it and cause sciatic-like symptoms down the back of your leg. Now, the primary cause of pain in this area is weakness in the hip rotators or in the piriformis muscle and in the glutes. Therefore, the primary way to get rid of it is by strengthening these areas. And so I've actually got this video divided into two parts. The first half, I want to show you the stretches that are ideal to cause relaxation and to minimize pain in this area. But the second part, I'll show you the right strengthening exercises to increase strength in your piriformis and in your glutes so the problem doesn't come back. So make sure you watch all the way to the end. I hope you find these exercises incredibly effective. Let's get into it. Let's start with some stretches for your hip. I've got 4 that I want to show you. They are in different positions and of varying intensities, so hopefully you find something that you can do regularly throughout your day. Stretch number 1 is the simplest one that I have for you. Go ahead and lie down on your back. And now in this position, bend your affected leg up. I'm going to grab that knee, but then pull that knee up and over towards my opposite shoulder. And so this is my left leg. I'm gonna grab it with my hands, and then I'm gonna pull it up and at an angle towards my right shoulder until I get a good stretch through the back of my hip. I would hold that in a comfortable position for about 20 seconds and then repeat that 3 times. I usually encourage people to keep things even, so I would encourage you to try doing that on both sides. Stretch number 2 is called the figure 4 stretch. This is a little more intense. Now what I want you to do is bend both knees. I'm going to cross the affected leg over the opposite leg. So I've got my left and I've crossed it over my right knee. Now with my hands, I'm gonna come right down here behind my right knee and then pull that knee up towards my chest. Just until, again, I get a little bit deeper stretch on that one. It's a little bit more rotation, but we want that stretch to be deep down in that left glute and in that left hip. And then once again, I'm gonna hold this one for 20 seconds, and then I'm going to repeat that 3 times on both sides. If you can't lie down, I know that's not always convenient, this is how we would do a similar stretch sitting down. And so now what I want you to do is cross your affected leg over your unaffected leg. So I've got my left over my right, and you see that my knee is actually pretty high. Yes, I do have pretty tight hips. What we can do, there's a couple of variations on this, and I would encourage you to try these different variations, see what works best for you. The simplest thing to do is to just take your hand and to just apply a little more pressure on the top of that knee to work into more of this external rotation position. You're gonna feel that more intensely down in your hip as you push on it. Personally, that one feels okay, but what I really like is now let's take that to the next level. I'm still gonna keep my hand here just to provide some stability, but now sit up straight and tall and then bend your shoulders forward. So I'm not rounding my back, I'm leaning forward with my torso, and all of a sudden, oh man, that sneaks that stretch right into that spot. Personally, I feel that one right on the money. And then you can also kind of play around with the angles. So if I rotate my shoulders slightly, now I'm going to lean over here towards my right, and then I can rotate my shoulders this way. I can lean over here towards my left. You can kind of vary the intensity and the location of that stretch depending on how you move with your torso. So play around with some of those different angles and some of those different ideas and find that stretch that works just right for you. Usually that's my go-to right there. That's where I'm headed. And so again, 20 seconds and then repeat that 3 times. Finally, this is the standing variation on this stretch. This one works really well if you find it difficult to get into some of those other positions that I just demonstrated, especially if you are pregnant. When my wife was pregnant, she had this piriformis pain and sciatica. She did this one constantly, so I always think of her when I demonstrate this exercise. You're just gonna come up to your bed or a table or a counter, and then we're just going to cross that leg up and on top of that area right here. And so I would cross my leg up on my bed, and then this is a pretty good stretch right here. but then you can use your hands and kind of lean forward over your bed just like this to enhance the stretch. The further that you crawl forward, the more that you sit down and the more that you lean over it is a way that you can increase the intensity of the stretch or make it stretch even a little bit more. But once again, you're gonna find that comfortable position and then hold that for about 20 seconds and then repeat it 3 times on both sides. Okay, now let's move into the strength training portion of the video. But before we jump into that, I'm curious, did you try the stretches so far? How is your hip feeling? How are you doing with this video? Let me know, leave me a comment down below. I always love to hear from you. I also want to mention Tone and Titan's all new membership area here on YouTube. This is something that I'm super excited about. We have different tiers and different perks available to you where you can show your support for the channel. We even have a private members only video library full of videos of things that I'm passionate about. Hopefully we can help you even more on an even deeper level. If you're curious, click the join button down below to learn more about that. Okay, let's get into these strength exercises. We're gonna start with something that's pretty simple. This is a clamshell exercise. You're going to lie down on your side with your affected hip up. And so right now I'm laying on my left, but my right hip is the one that I'm going to be working on. My knees are bent and my feet are together. Keep your feet together and pull your knees apart. Hold up here 1-2 seconds and then slowly return back down to that starting position. That was 1 repetition. And ideally we're gonna do 10 to 15, actually 15 to 20 of these. Most people respond to this pretty quickly. And so 3 sets of 15 to 20 is a good number to shoot for. The other thing that you can do is pick up one of these resistance bands and put that around your knees to perform that clamshell exercise. That's a great way to increase resistance, increase intensity of the exercise. If you're interested in picking up a set of these, I've got it linked in the description down below. Exercise number 2 is in that same position, but now we're going to do a side lying hip abduction. So I'm still laying on my left leg is still bent, but now what I want you to do is straighten that right leg out, and then I want you to lift your heel up towards the ceiling and slightly back behind you. Hold up there 1, 2, and then slowly return back down to that starting position again. You should feel this in that muscle, basically right above the ball of your hip, right above your greater trochanter right out here. We're working that glute med with this, but as you pull it back behind you, you're gonna feel it in that glute max and in that deep hip area as well. 3 sets of about 10 to 15 reps is my typical recommendation there. Now let's roll over onto your back and we're gonna do some bridges. But there are a couple of different variations on this that I like to show people. The first one would be with this resistance band around your knees. If you put that resistance band around your knees, now all of a sudden we're working the glutes with hip extension, pushing up into this position, but we can also push out against that band to work hip rotation. And so this is a great way that we can actually kind of get a 2-for-1 with this exercise. So I'm squeezing through my glutes, but then I'm pushing my knees apart as well. You're just gonna feel that in a different area. That is the variation on the glute bridge that I prefer. But if you don't have this resistance band available, we can do something similar with a frog bridge. And so I'm on my back, my knees are bent, but now what I'm going to do is put the soles of my feet together and let my knees fall to the outside. So we're going to bias the exercise into this externally rotated position, and then the mechanics look the same. Contract your glutes, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, hold 1, 2, and then come right back down. Like once again, it's a way that we can bias that external rotation. We can fire that piriformis just a little bit more, and that variation doesn't require any equipment at all. 3 sets, 15 to 20 reps is the typical recommendation there. And then finally, the last exercise, we're going to target hip rotation, but in a way that doesn't require any resistance. We're going to do a fire hydrant exercise. And you'll see why it's named that here in just a second. So now we're down on all fours. I want you to keep your hip and knee in this 90-degree position. So I'm 90 degrees at my hip, I'm 90 degrees at my knee, but then what I'm going to do is abduct or lift that affected knee out towards the side in this position. position right here, hold 1, 2, and then slowly return to the starting position again. I want you to keep in mind that the majority of that motion should come from your hip. If you find yourself rotating through your shoulders and rotating through your back, you're using too many of those accessory muscles. We want that to be targeted and isolated right into your glute, right into your piriformis area. And 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps is a great number to shoot for on each side. I hope these help your hip to feel incredible, and thank you so much for watching.